My love for the original Splitgate is well chronicled. Splitgate's portal mechanic changed the way we move and position in FPS games, and paired with its Halo-like gunplay, Splitgate still stands up as one of my favorite shooters of the last decade. With the Splitgate 2 Alpha now in tow and carrying a ton of changes and upgrades, how does the lover of the original game feel about it? Let's dive into my first impressions of the Splitgate 2 Alpha, and let me tell you all about it. So aside from the obvious visual, performance, and tech upgrades, which we're going to get into later, the fundamental core systems of Splitgate have changed in every regard. And this could be scary if you're a fan of the original game, but let me explain it. It all works out, it all makes sense. So there are now factions in Splitgate 2. There are 3 in this alpha. We don't know if there's going to be more coming, more added as seasonal content. Again, more on that later. But right now, for the loadouts, when you get into the main screen here, you've got, you can make 5 loadouts per faction. But you have 3 different factions. You have the arrows, I believe that's how that's pronounced right here, and you get a male and a female option for both. Base, imagining more skins coming later. You get the Meridian right here, and you get the Sabrask. And every faction kind of has different themes, different weapons, different perks, and we're going to get into all of this. So once you get into a given faction, again, the arrows are like a fast, agile movement kind of faction. That's their idea. And each faction also has a team supporting ability as well. The Meridian actually manipulate time and have like a heal grenade. That's what I use when I play them. And the Sabrask are kind of like the Doomslayers of the group. They're the heavy, hard-hitting, brute force kind of play style. In the alpha right now, like I said, there's 3 main guns for each faction. Here we got the Tempo Assault Rifle, the Cadence Carbine, and the Sprinter SMG. If you go over to the Meridian, you get a charge-up shotgun, you get an assault rifle, you get a quantum, like a burst rifle, like a battle rifle. Sabrask, you get an assault rifle, a carbine, and a shotgun. So every single faction has, a close range, a mid-range, and a long range. So when you jump in here, you now have loadouts, which is a little bit like, reminiscent of Call of Duty, right? You got loadouts, you get to choose. Right now in the alpha, there's 3 different weapons per faction, and then there's a pistol as well per faction. You get to add 2 attachments to your weapon, so there's actual like full-scale weapon attachments to customize the way your guns function. You get a couple like utility options, grenades. This one's got a stim, and you've got perks as well. You got 2 perk slots, and you get 2 choices. Again, likely to expand in the future, but what this really provides is a lot more customization to really build a playstyle of your own. Splitgate 1 is as innovative as it was. The whole game revolved around, the portal mechanic and the gunplay. Those things are still front and center here, clearly, and we're going to talk about both, but there's more depth here, more customization of the gameplay style, which opens things up, adds more depth, and also allows players who maybe aren't like the best people at portaling in the world to build a play style that suits them and help those players. And speaking of guns, this is an arena shooter. There are power weapons right now in this alpha. There is a rocket launcher which has 3 shots, and it's a little different. If you want to kill somebody in 1 shot, you pretty much got to body shot them. It's not that hard, or you just rapid fire it with 3 shots. A little different, but works really well. And you also get an SMG, which is really cool, which you can dual wield. You can right click and you dual wield it with a pistol, and you can shoot with 2 hands, kind of like Halo 2, Halo 3-esque. You of course lose your ability to portal while you're dual wielding, but it's very quick to fold it back up and then portal again. The alpha, as we know it right now, has 3 different maps with 2 different modes. It's obviously very focused testing. All the maps are relatively small, very Splitgate-esque. You're going to notice that they definitely feel more alive, more lifelike. You're seeing that full-funded AAA levels of investment that 1047 Games has received on display here. It feels like the world of Splitgate has come alive. It's not just like maps with a setting. All 3 maps were totally fine, well designed. Some were some were closer quarters, some allowed more open space. Of course, portaling still a huge part of the game, and we'll get into that a little bit later, moving around the map through portals. There's currently 2 modes, and we're expecting tons more modes down the road, right? And this is where one of 1047, and again, alpha, all subject to change, a very bold choice here. They have, it's called Hot Zone, which is, control the objective style zone with your team kind of mode. And then there's Team Deathmatch. Both of these modes are based in very short rounds. Instead of like, most games, Team Deathmatch, you fight until you get 50 kills, you fight until you get 75 kills, 100 kills. It's 1 5-10 minute game, and that's it. Both Hot Zone and Team Deathmatch are broken into smaller chunks. So you have to win I believe it's 2 or 3 rounds in team deathmatch, and you play until 15 kills. I think it is you win 3 rounds. So some of those rounds are very quick. You're talking 1-2 minute rounds. First team to 15 kills wins, resets, moves to the next round. First team to 15 kills wins. I think the design context here is that they're trying to stop like snowball games. If your team's just getting lambasted, you have time now in the next round, right, to reset, change. You can change your loadout and your guns that you're running at any point, but it kind of formally gives you that, okay, we just got rolled by a team running all SMGs and shotguns. How can we change things up? I'm truly not sure how I feel about this yet. I don't feel strongly one way or another. It takes some getting used to, because I do know that sometimes when you feel like you're starting to warm up, right? You're starting to get into the match, really starting to hit your stride, and then you're pulled out. The round ends, and then you're on to a new round. It's definitely different. It's a bold play. It could be more competitive, but it also kind of stops those games where you end up coming back from 10 kills late game and so on. You can still come back from 10 kills, I suppose, in a short round based mode, but you get what I'm saying. Hot zone, same idea. First team to take 2 hot zones, which is like you hold the objective for a certain amount of time, you score a point, a new hot zone spawns. Once you get 2, the first team to get 2 zones, round's over, moves to the next round, both teams at 0 again. Bold play, not sure how I feel about it, but I'd love to hear how you guys feel about it down in the comments. Now let's talk about how the actual gameplay, gunplay, and abilities have changed everything, because this is what most players are going to fixate on, right? And it's the first thing that really jumps out at you, right? Portals are still front and center. You can now bind it. It's binded by default to 1 key. You don't have to do, I think it was Q and E like you did in the first Splitgate. You control one portal with one button, another portal with another. You can literally just hit E by default on one wall, hit E by default on another wall. There's your 2 portals. I believe Z is still the close by default to close one of your portals, so you can't be followed. I honestly think there's a lot of discussion about this, but for me, as a non-pro level Splitgate player, this works perfectly fine. I never did any of the crazy triple portaling stuff anyway, nor does 97% of the player base. There's less potential to close enemy portals now, because you don't have that canceling grenade by default. There is a loadout that has equipment to cancel enemy portals, so it's still possible. It's not done as frequently as in Splitgate 1, which less interference may with what some players are doing, especially casual players or less skilled players, are probably going to enjoy that. And one of the problems that Splitgate had, not through any fault of the developers, was that the skill ceiling was so high, and that some of the mechanics were so complex, which was the genius of the game, right? But with it, some of the lower skilled or more casual players couldn't compete and were driven away from the game because of the depth of all the different kits and factions and abilities. I think Splitgate 2 addresses that very well. That skill ceiling's definitely still very high. When you see players who are very familiar with the maps and the portaling mechanics, you know it, like it's obvious these guys are very good and you're gonna get rolled. So I don't think it's a huge problem. The gunplay, honestly, this was a bit surprising to me. It feels good, no doubt about it. It feels like a AAA FPS. To me, it almost feels a bit more Call of Duty-esque than Halo in a lot of regards, which is funny because Halo was one of the big inspirations for the original Splitgate, to the point where a lot of the guns were mirrored. And it doesn't feel quite like COD, but I do think overall, all the changes made in this game with the loadouts, the accessories, the factions, the abilities, this does position Splitgate, in my opinion, Splitgate 2 as a Call of Duty competitor, even more so than a Halo-esque game, which I think is a good move, and it sets them up in the future to add a lot of content and really keep players' progression, unlocks, to keep players playing, which is obviously something that the first game also struggled with at times, right? Was having continued reasons to grind, and I think they've set themselves up very, very well here. You're seeing footage of the maps and the gunplay and the gameplay now, again, all of which has been obviously upgraded. There's not much to say here, guys. It looks great, it runs great, it has its own very unique look. The gun models feel good. The animations are particularly impressive, like the gun reload animations. It's obvious that 1047 has taken things to the next level. The game has a distinct futuristic, bright, colorful look. I'm really looking forward to seeing more maps, to be honest with you, to see how they change the look or keep it unified across all the maps. I'm expecting this game to have a lot of maps eventually. It is an arena shooter, and they are, you know, mostly smaller maps. I am looking forward to some longer range maps as well in future tests, or the final game where the combat isn't so close range, because the maps we have now, especially with portals, right, because you can get anywhere on the map virtually at any point. It does seem very close and competitive, nitty-gritty, close quarters combat. But that said, all the stuff with the gunplay, the abilities, the graphics, the performance, obviously big upgrades over the first game, and nothing else to say. So I think, like I said, going back to the drawing board, 1047 has really set themselves up very well to make Splitgate to a game that has longevity. Not only does it have more quality all around, from the visuals, the audio design, the animations, right, the gunplay, all of that, but having loadouts and attachments and factions and abilities, they've set themselves up to add so much to the game. This is just the very first alpha, and there's already so many things I can see being added to the game, and being, you know, whether it's seasonal content, or just, you know, more stuff that's going to be in there at launch, right? Like, there's so many weapons that are obvious that you could add to the game right now. The sniper we haven't seen yet, the railgun, the BFB, the plasma rifle. Do those guns come back? Do we get like a magnum or a revolver style? Because you can have both, obviously, because Splitgate is an arena shooter. You can have guns that can be part of your loadout, you know, that any player can make the part of their loadout and spawn with every spawn, so on and so forth. But you can also introduce new power weapons, like that original Splitgate power shotgun, which was so strong, like the sniper, like the railgun, all of that stuff. There's so much potential for you know, more grenades, Molotovs, gas grenades. There's just so much they can do, and they've set themselves up to continually add new stuff to change the way that the game plays, and I think that's really smart. And obviously with some of those things comes progression. We're obviously going to get a ton of new modes: SWAT, Infection, Ranked, Showdown, One in the Chamber, Instagib, Team Snipers, right? Like, and again, just battle passes, skins. We don't know what else is out there. This, right? Like, the map editor, esports, console versions. Like, there's so much to come here. But it's obvious the core of Splitgate 2 is vastly improved and very strong. And when you line up all of these factors, I think Splitgate 2 is truly positioned to succeed, and it really justifies the decision that they made to go back to the drawing board, start fresh with Splitgate 2 on Unreal Engine 5 on stronger tech, with a fully funded AAA team, and deliver a game that can sustain itself for a decade.
Crap.
Right, you guys, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you want coverage of more games like Splitgate 2 and more Splitgate 2 coverage, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Go check out my other channel, Midnight Mayor, which is dedicated exclusively to Dead Drop. I'm working on my next short film set in the Dead Drop universe. I used to write Splitgate short stories as well. I think I wrote 5 of them. If you guys want another one or more, leave a comment down below. Maybe someday we'll get into live action Splitgate content, right? They're doing comics now on the Splitgate companion app. I can't wait for the next Splitgate test. I can't wait to see more weapons, more modes, specifically more maps. There's so much to come. But like I said, all in all, positioned very well to be a success. Can't wait to see more for when Splitgate 2 launches in 2025 or during the next playtest. And then we'll be covering it on Twitch, here on YouTube, all that stuff. You guys know where to find me. I'm everywhere. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Mayor Reynolds out. This video is sponsored by Fortnite. Support a creator code MAYOR. That's all you got to do is plug MAYOR into your Fortnite or Epic Game Store. Support a creator slot. Whenever you make a purchase, and a portion of that purchase will go towards supporting my content. It costs you nothing. Just plug it in anytime you see support a creator in Fortnite or the Epic Game Store, and it will directly support my channel and help increase the budget for content like our live action Dead Drop short film, Midnight, which you can go watch right now. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate the support. MAYOR in your supporter creator slot. Thanks a lot.